in some ways, the best way to understand what a conception of justice is to look at what it's supposed to do. So here's how conceptions of justice function in Rawls' system. The idea is that a society will in some way adopt a conception of justice. Okay? So in some way, the society will decide, we are going to let our systems be regulated by this conception of justice. Right? So when someone proposes a policy change or a constitutional amendment or some other major change in the political, economic, and other relationships between people at a fundamental level, right, people can stop and say, okay, now wait a minute. What would our basic principles that we've all accepted say about this? Right? So people can use it really in two ways. One is they can use it to justify existing arrangements. So when someone says, why should I accept the fact that I work hard as an employee and I get a wage instead of a share of the profits? Right? Well, other members of society can say, well, look, we have agreed as a society to this set of principles. Right? And when we understand how these set of principles play out in practice, you can see that it's perfectly consistent for us to have a wage system rather than requiring all companies to engage in profit sharing. Now, sometimes it can be used to critique existing institutions. Right? So sometimes people can say, look, we've got this. I mean, at one point we had a property requirement for voting. And people could say, look, according to these principles about how political power should be distributed that we've all agreed to, this is not acceptable. There should be no property qualification for voting. We should go to a one-man, one-vote system. So the function of it is to, on one hand, serve as a way of justifying, right, to citizens the political and economic institutions that they have. Right? On the other hand, it also serves as a basis for people to critique and argue for change in those institutions by pointing out ways in which another way of doing things would better fit with that conception of justice.